How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and I have a bit of a special announcement today. If I counted right, this should be the Movie Castle's 100th video. So I'd like to thank everybody who's liked, subscribed, watched. You guys are really helping this channel out, and we got to 100. So to celebrate, I thought I'd pick one of my favorite movies and show it to you guys. That is Return of the Living Dead from 1985. This is written and directed by Dan O'Bannon, and if you're not familiar with all the things this guy wrote, you should really check it out. Some classics like Alien and Total Recall. He's probably wrote quite a few movies that you're familiar with. Unfortunately, he didn't direct that often. He was more a writer. He only directed this and one other thing, The Resurrected, I believe, and I'll get to that movie soon. But it's sad he didn't direct more, because this is a really good and really cool movie. It's a soft sequel to Night of the Living Dead, and I'll explain that more when I get to the plot. The movie's about this guy named Freddy, and Freddy is kind of a street punk, but he's getting his life together. He has a steady girlfriend, and now he's getting a job. And his job is at this medical supply warehouse that is right across the street from a funeral home. And next to the funeral home, there's this really big, cool, old-timey cemetery. So, it's Freddy's first day on the job. He's looking around, he's being shown the ropes, and he's getting to see all the cool stuff in a medical supply warehouse. But when they're on their break, he asks his manager, "What's the weirdest thing you've ever seen?" And that gets him to say, "You know that movie, Night of the Living Dead? Did you know it was based on a true story?" And he tells this story about how zombies actually did happen. It was, we don't know too much about the real, real world in context of this movie version of Night of the Living Dead, but we know it happened in a veterans hospital. The military is making some chemical that leaked, and when it came in contact with the corpses, caused them to reanimate. Now, when Romero made his movie, the government said, "Hey, we won't let you make it like what really happened, so you have to change things around or we'll go after you." So, Romero's Night of the Living Dead isn't exactly like what happened. And after he tells them the story, he takes them to the basement to see the actual corpses, because you see, due to a military error, the corpses were accidentally shipped to this medical supply warehouse where they've been stored in the basement ever since. So they go down, they look at them, they're all in these barrels, they lift the lid up, and there's a glass pane where you can look in at the zombies, and the manager taps one on the side, and gas spews out, and it knocks the two of them out, and they wake up, and all the dead things in the medical supply warehouse have come to life, unfortunately including a corpse, which is going to be a problem for them. They get their boss over, and they're going to try to figure out how to contain this chemical before things get worse, which, I mean, this is a zombie movie. Things are going to get worse pretty quick, and that's one of the things, too. This is day one zombie movie. This is seeing things slip out of control rapidly, and things get pretty bad from what seems to be an innocuous start. So if you like that on-the-ground, day one stuff, what do you do, where do you hide, that sort of thing, you get to see things get pretty bad. Now, to further complicate these matters, Freddy's friends, including his girlfriend, are looking for something to do, and they want to see Freddy because Freddy knows where all the cool places to hang out are. He knows where all the parties are. So they gotta wait for him to get off work. So all his punk friends decide to hang out in the cemetery and wait, which will of course pull them into the zombie plot later. And fun fact, one of the punk friends is played by Linnea Quigley, the famous Scream Queen. She plays a character called Trash, which is one of the more memorable punk characters in this movie. So anyway, things get pretty crazy, and it turns into a crazy zombie movie. Now, there are a few things to note with this movie, and one, you remember how I said Romero was forced to change things? They use that as an excuse to use completely different zombie rules in this movie. And for those of you who are a stickler about zombie rules and you want things to be perfect, you may not like this, but it's fun and they have an excuse for it. They acknowledged it. But like in this one, the big thing that everyone talks about is these are fully reanimated corpses, and it's not just like, you know, there's one way to kill them. These guys are super tough. If you cut off a hand, the hand will keep crawling at you, and they're one of the hardest things to kill. And of course, they can do things that any normal human can do. They're not more powerful than a regular human, but they can still run, not faster than a human. If they're fresh, they can run. But also, one of the weird things is they can talk and think. And because they can think, they can do things like, you know, if like they find a paramedic truck. There's one scene where they pick up the walkie-talkie and say, "Send more paramedics," because they want more food. And also because they can talk. This is the movie where the zombies say brains. And you find a lot of people who talk about zombies and they all go, "Oh yeah, zombies like brains." And from what I gather, that was started because of this movie. In this movie, the zombies go brains, and they want brains specifically, not just human meat. They want the brains, which is a pretty big change. Another thing with this movie is it's kind of nihilistic. You know, you see where a lot of these characters are going to meet pretty dim and gruesome fates, and that includes a lot of the major characters. Now, the reason why this isn't depressing is because it kind of, rather than letting these things seem sad or sink in that way, it just has fun and parties the whole time, you know. So when things get worse, the music kicks up and the movie has a better time, you know, rather than just going, "Oh, it's so sad, everyone's dying." Whenever something, you know, like the zombies really break loose, they turn up the punk rock music and they just kind of revel in things going terribly, you know. They laugh at the end of the human race, you know. It's just kind of a weird thing. And yeah, this movie is very funny. It's not like they turn to the camera and tell jokes, but just the way the situations are played and the actors will, like, you know, something will happen and they'll all react, you know, real emotion behind it. So even though it's not, you know, telling jokes, this is a very, very funny movie. So if you're big into horror comedy, I definitely recommend it. And also, like I said earlier, this movie has a very good soundtrack. It's full of really cool, thematically appropriate punk rock music. And I would definitely recommend checking it out if you're at all into that type of music. But that being said, it's a gory comedy. For people who like things like the Evil Dead movies, Reanimator, or Night of the Demons, I mentioned Linnea Quigley earlier. If you like those types of movies, you know, particularly Reanimator, this is a gory, fun comedy movie, and you'll like this one as well. But I mean, if you've seen those others, you probably have heard of this. I definitely recommend checking it out. It is, you know, very over the top, you know, so be prepared for a hard R and all that comes with that. But if this at all sounds like anything you'd be interested in, check it out. This is not just one of my favorite zombie movies, it's one of my favorite movies because it's fun, and you got emotion and music and rhythm, and it's just, it's the end of the world, and it's the best time you're gonna have while the world's ending, you know? So, definitely recommend this, and that is something, it leads me into two things I want to do with this channel. One, I want to review more of the Romero Zombieverse, so that includes the movies Romero did, the Return of the Living Dead movies, the zombie movies, and all the remakes and sequels and stuff that people did of Romero's movies. There's actually quite a bit of Romero Zombieverse movies, and I want to cover more of them. And also, I want to start covering more of my favorite movies, so I want to get things, you know, like Reanimator or Night of the Demons. I want to start covering those, so keep an eye out for those in the future. To everyone who's watched this far, thank you, and I'd also like to thank everyone who's liked and subscribed. You guys are really helping me out, and hey, we got to 100 videos, so I'll see you guys again very soon. Have a great day!